Welcome to What the Farm Podcast. My name is Rob Sharkey. I'm a farmer from Illinois, and I'm also host of Shark Farmer Radio.
And I'm the other co-host, Leslie Kelly, also known as High Heels and Canola Fields, a wife and a mother and a farmer from Saskatchewan.
Yes, and didn't you just recently get elected to Canola Emperor or something like that?
I did get the reference of wheat goddess, but yeah, that's wheat.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is that equivalent to like the U.S. checkoffs? I'm not even sure.
Yes, I believe so, because it's a producer-run organization that runs off checkoff dollars.
Well, that's really exciting. Is that the first time you've done something like that?
It is. You know what? I'm kind of scared and nervous.
You should be.
But excited.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. You're going to kill it.
I might have to change my name to High Heels and Wheat Fields now.
No. It took me long enough to get the canola thing down, so I think you better just stick with it.
So you've been busy lately.
Yeah, we just got back from Nashville, down at the RFD studios. Brand new experience. I'm not even sure what to think about it. It's completely different than anything we've ever done, but hopefully we'll launch early this spring. But I just hope that the people down there at RFD are really good at editing how horrible I am.
So this is a TV show.
Yes, this will be a brand new venture, brand new TV show aired on RFD.
What will you be doing on TV?
Okay, I don't know. I don't know what I can say and what I can't, because they like say, don't say anything, and then they say stuff. So I don't know. I don't want to be the guy. What I like about it is it's not just me. It's going to be me featuring other people in agriculture around the country, because there's so many people out there that are so good with social media and stuff like that. So I'm really happy about that.
Oh, and so we have to wait till springtime?
February.
Oh, well, February isn't spring in Canada. It's close.
Well, all right. Let's stop talking about me. Yes.
I do have one more question. Okay, so since you're in Nashville and you're on TV, did the Shark cowboy boots come out?
I bought those, and I thought they would be really clever, but they are the most uncomfortable boots. I'm supposed to put them in an oven or something and then fit them, and I just haven't done it. So no, the shark boots have not come out.
Oh, please bring them out for at least one episode.
No, it's me from the knees up in front of a green screen, so you wouldn't even see them anyway. But anyway, Leslie, let's get to our guest today. You found us a person with Christmas trees. Yeah,
well, I put out a tweet, and I got lots of responses back, and would like to thank Jody DeHate, who has been on a previous What the Farm podcast. She put me in touch with Scott Powell.
How you doing, Scott?
Great. How are you folks today?
Well, we're doing fine. You are in the midst of traveling, huh?
Yeah. So, Dutchman Tree Farms, we're a wholesale farm. So we are super busy the end of October all through November. And then we've basically shipped all our products. And now we're just out and about visiting customers from corner retail lots to choose and cut farms to garden centers to some of the box stores and grocery stores, just seeing how sales are going. And we just want to make sure that the industry's progressing. And so we're just having conversations with customers.
And when you talk about products, what does your farm sell?
So being a wholesale farm and in Michigan's one of the more diverse states when it comes to growing Christmas trees as far as the amount of different species we grow. Our crops consist of Fraser fir, balsam fir, to grand fir, blue spruce, black hills, Scotch pine, white pine. That's a big component of what we do is cut Christmas trees, but we also do living trees, container-grown trees for consumers that maybe want to take that tree and plant it out. But then we also do wreaths, roping, garland, and other Christmas arrangements and different items for just the decor of Christmas beyond just that cut Christmas tree.
Okay, whoa. Before we get into all the questions that I know my co-host is going to pelt you with, let's get into you first. How did you get started in all this?
Well, it started in high school. Every local kid, when you live in an agricultural area, you find yourself drawn, whether you're picking blueberries or detasseling corn or trimming Christmas trees. That was popular in our area, was Christmas trees. And there in Missaukee County, where Dutchman's located, we were at one time the largest producing county for cut Christmas trees. That's changed and transitioned. So that's when it started, was in high school. My father-in-law now had started Dutchman Tree Farms. He had 6 girls, and now 5 of these son-in-laws are involved with the farm, as well as a nephew and his 3 boys. So we're just a large family farm.
Yeah, those daughters just married workers, huh?
Well, yes, and the great thing about each one of us is we had all left, and we had all different business or backgrounds prior to being asked to come back to the family farm. It's not a birthright for us, and that was a important thing that my father-in-law set out, that if you wanted to be a part of it, you need to have a spot and need to be asked to come back.
That's fantastic.
So we've all been asked to come back to the farm for one area or another based on maybe some expertise that we had garnered throughout life. You know, that's the work side of things. I've been there since 2011. Prior to that, I was doing marketing and research at a community college and teaching part-time. And I always say I dropped out of my PhD and I traded in college for conifers.
Nice.
So that's the work side. I'm a husband of 1 and a father of 5 kids. And, you know, we spend a lot of time together on the farm or traveling visiting customers this time of year. So as of right now, I'm sitting in a parking lot in New Jersey with my 13-year-old, 10-year-old, and 6-year-old who'll be on the road with me here for another 9 days.
What would you say your title or your role is?
My title is nursery manager, but I oversee all of our propagation, all the way from setting up and establishing seed orchards to the sowing of the seed, the nursery production, all of our bare root stock, and then I oversee the wreath and greens operation at the farm. And then there's always, you know, everyone who works is in customer service, whether you're driving a tractor and you got to talk to somebody in a neighboring field, or we're on the road talking with customers.
Before we get delved into specifics with all this, as an overall umbrella of your farm there, the family farm, basically you're growing Christmas trees and then you are selling them to people that would sell them on the lots or the Walmarts or the Menards of the world. Is that correct?
Yes, we work with a very diverse group, whether it be the chain stores or the box stores, the home improvement centers, independent garden centers, as well as those corner retail lots that maybe pop up here and there in different cities across the country. Cut Christmas trees is one of the rare things where the grower will go directly to that retail sector, and there's not always that middleman involved. A lot of places in different parts of the country, there are some lead wholesalers that'll buy in, but for Christmas tree farmers, there's a lot of people just direct to that corner retail lot or direct to that garden center. That's even changing as the online presence, and you know, we do some third-party fulfillment through a couple different online resources as well.
Do you want to know something?
Oh, careful, Scott.
That out of the 37 times that the Christmas tree has come out when I've been on this earth, I don't know really anything about Christmas trees.
Well, they're a tree. Now, is your family the one that gets the real tree, or do you have the fake one?
Oh, Scott's not going to like this. So right now, I currently have an artificial tree, but growing up, we did have the real tree. I have 2 young boys who would set a real tree on fire. So maybe in a couple of years, we'll transition to a real tree.
I apologize, Scott. She's Canadian, so don't worry about it.
Leslie, let me know. I will find somebody who can get you a tree when that time is right.
Hopefully one that's flame retardant.
Yes, please.
For us, we're a family of 5. Out of those family members at the farm, my kids have 39 cousins, and out of everybody at the farm, I think there's 52 in that cousin group. So if it's been caught on fire, our kids have definitely tried.
Okay. So everything's fertile up in Michigan. Got it. Okay. So take us through your farm here. Are you growing them from little pine cones to the stuff that we see at Walmart and that?
Within the Christmas tree industry, there's very few opportunities and people that are collecting seed. And so it's really on us to really make any genetic improvements that we can. And so we're out selecting trees, as some other farms are, that we want to create and establish a seed orchard. The challenge is it takes us 20 years to make one genetic generation difference. And so it's a long-term commitment for Christmas tree farms. Seed to harvest is anywhere from 8 to 12 years as well. So it's not like we're planting in May and we're getting a crop off in October. Mm-hmm. For us to make any progress, it's a generational cycle. As we as a farm have looked at this, we said, okay, we want to make a genetic difference. We want to make a long-term investment. And so we've set up seed orchards. And so we collect the seed, we process it, and then we take that and then we sow it in our own nursery. As that tree grows and matures in our nursery anywhere from 2 to 4 years, then we'll take it to the field. And once we're in the field, and then that'll stay cultural practices and things for another 5 to 8 years after that. And that's just to get a 7 to 8 foot tree. As a farm, we also harvest trees up to 65 feet, which we did for the city of Claremore, Oklahoma this past year.
I've never thought about this before, but is there genetically modified trees anywhere?
There's not. There is some research being done to see what we can do to do some DNA mapping. I believe there's some researchers at North Carolina State University working on such program right now. It's become popular in the logging industry and the timber industry. They're looking at using some of that same technology to see if they can DNA map to find specific DNA trends to be able to grow a more superior tree. Okay. But with it being seed to harvest such a long cycle and the generational progress, it's a long-term commitment.
Sure.
How many trees do you cut in a year?
Most farms, it varies year to year. We will typically cut over 750,000 trees a year.
Wow.
Oh, my. Oh.
Over how many acres?
Between all the land that we manage, and we do some field corn and rye and some oats as cover crops, but we're farming right around 9,000 acres right now.
Wow.
But then we manage in total about 12,000 acres.
Holy cats.
And how many trees would you plant per year?
Well over 1 million trees a year. We lose some to drought. We lose some to maybe some flooding. Every tree does not produce a harvestable value, and so you've got to be able to have some in that mix to make sure that you're covered.
Do you plant that mechanically, or is that all done by hand?
So all of our seed is sown in the seed beds, and then each tree is then dug and then replanted in the nursery into transplant beds, and then those are lined out. And so seed will get about 500,000 trees to the acre. Once we transplant, we get about 100,000 to the acre. Once we go to the field, we've been averaging about 1,200 trees to the acre. Those are all done with old-style tree planters made down in Georgia back in the 60s. So using the exact same machines planted by a tractor driver and a guy riding on the 3-point.
Hopefully you have air conditioning now. But you said 1 million, so that 1 million is not the actual trees that goes into the fields because you keep reducing it down. Am I reading that right?
No, we'll plant over 1 million trees a year.
Good night. That's a lot.
And for us being as far north as we are, we've got about a 3-week window, 4-week window to make that happen. Springtime, like any farmer, it's go time. When the fields are ready, we're pushing hard and just trying to make it all happen.
How long does it take to grow that 8-9 foot tree?
Typically, we say it's about a foot a year once it's to the field. So a 9-foot tree, we are looking at about an 11-year cycle. 6 to 7 foot tree, we're looking at about a 9-year cycle.
With farming, you think of like people being concerned about what we're growing, right? Because it's what they're putting in their body. Do you get questions or concerns about how you're raising that tree as far as what you're spraying on it, how it's being grown, how it's fertilized, because people are putting it in their house?
Yeah, we do get some of that. We want to be responsible, just like every farmer. You don't want to spray or put something down that you don't absolutely have to. It costs too much money to do that. For us, we're on an integrated pest management plan. We want to make sure that soil is just as viable as it can be for what that tree needs. At the same time, we don't want to spray anything that we don't have to, because not only is it going maybe in one of your listeners' homes, it's going in our home too. It's the air that's being breathed by my kids in that home and my wife in that home as well. We want to be as conscious as we can, be stewards of the earth that the Lord's given us, and we just want to make sure that we're taking care of what we have, not only for this generation, but every generation coming behind us. And as we look at that, it costs too much money just to go out and just to spray,
mm-hmm.
just to fertilize. So every decision we make and every time we go through a field, it's not only what is it best for the crop that we're growing, but what's best for the earth and what we have a part of it.
What pests and diseases do you have to worry about?
Well, we're always concerned about predatory insects. We got different things we need to worry about and control. specifically coming out of the state of Michigan, there are certain pests that we need to control or do a systematic spray for every year that's required by the U.S. Department of Ag or the Michigan Department of Agriculture in order to ship the trees out of our state. Not only do we need to control certain species, we need to be certain that we're meeting those governmental standards. One such that we have to worry about is gypsy moth. We are inspected annually for gypsy moth every field. So if you can imagine how many fields our inspectors have to travel to meet those requirements, we're on a first-name basis with the Michigan Department of Ag inspectors.
Okay, I go to Menards and I buy a tree for $30. So I'm assuming you make $30 million a year.
You know, if we were doing that, I think everybody would want a Christmas tree farm.
How do they get them that cheap? I mean, because you're growing them up there in Michigan, you're processing each single darn tree, and it comes down here, and I buy one for $30. Yeah, how do you make money at that?
Well, what's hard is maybe that box store is using that as a loss leader to get the consumer in the store to buy the lights or the ornaments or the other items. But, you know, a lot of these box stores have buying power. You know, we need to grow our product as economically as possible, and we can't control what that box store chooses to sell it for. As we work with these box stores, and there's a threshold for what consumers are willing to pay, but it also depends on the zip code or what the clientele that walks through the door. I was just in a garden center yesterday that was charging well over $11 a foot, $12 a foot for a tree. You're not going to get that same thing in a Home Depot or a Lowe's because there's a level of which a consumer's willing to pay for a product. Same thing with a gallon of milk. Same thing with strawberries or blueberries. And so there's a level at which consumers willing to pay for an item. And we need to be conscious of that, of what we're willing to sell an item for. But at the same time, because we have up to 11 years into that tree, you know, it takes 11 years to get that product to harvest. Mm-hmm. We've got to be able to put food on our table each and every day, just like everybody else does. So as we work with our suppliers or with our retailers, we need to be able to provide a living, but they need to be able to sell that item as well.
Okay. That beautiful triangle shape, does that happen by chance, or do you have to go in and prune a million trees?
We are trimming trees typically after the second year they've been in the field and just doing light touches to them. And then by the time they get up into the 4 to 5 foot range, we are trimming trees not only that are going to be harvested that year, but also what's going to be harvested for the next 5 years. Each tree, in theory, once it's been planted, has been sheared probably 5, 6, 7 times.
Gotcha. Now, if I go and I buy a tree, roughly, I mean, ballpark, how long ago was that cut?
It depends on where you're at. We try to keep product cut as fresh as we possibly can. By harvesting as many trees as we do, we need to be able to get them in the yard, into the storage yard, to be able to ship them out all within a timely manner. A lot of these stores started bringing products in just a weekend before Thanksgiving. And a lot of places are getting replenishments still even before this upcoming kind of last saleable weekend here coming up. As these products are cut, the most important thing is to get a fresh cut on that tree. Whether it was cut a month ago or whether it was cut last week, the sap will harden off on the bottom of that trunk. So you just want to get a nice half-inch, three-quarter-inch cut off the bottom of that tree and get it within water within an hour, and that'll just help draw moisture up right through the cambium of that tree. With that fresh cut and getting it in water and keeping it the bottom of that trunk below water will help that tree continue to draw moisture all the way through the season.
So when you cut them and then they sit in a store on the truck for a month or a few weeks, how does it die?
As that tree is cut, we always say, once the tree's cut, it's not living anymore, but it is still a real tree. So many people say, well, I lost this needles here. And well, yeah, you had it with right in the south-facing window of your home, and it was right on top of a heat register. All those factors are going to help dry that tree out faster.
It's exactly where my tree is.
Yeah, the best thing you can possibly do is to draw the shades behind it, but then your neighbors can't see your beautiful tree from the outside. Yeah. Or you want to cover up that heat register maybe with aluminum foil or a couple books just to try to preserve that tree as best as you can. The tradition of the real tree, the joy, the amount of time and the family presence that's drawn around that tree, you want to be able to preserve it as best as you can. You want to keep that tree as fresh as you possibly can. And so doing anything that we can do as a consumer to be able to preserve that, to make that tree last all the way through the Christmas season, we want to make sure that we're doing that. And so, yeah, maybe it was cut a few weeks ago, but there's things that we can do once it's in our homes to keep that tree lasting as long as we possibly can.
Do you paint them?
Some species do need to be what we would term color enhanced. A lot of that just boils down to maybe they yellow off a little bit just in the natural presence of the tree as it prepares for winter. And so some trees are lightly colored enhanced just to be able to last a little bit through the season. I'm here in New Jersey right now. I just left Wyckoff's Choose and Cut Farm in Belvedere, and he had trees that were painted the local school colors of garnet and gray and red and white, and he had some painted blue, white, and red for a patriotic theme, and then a New York Giants fan showed up, and they wanted that tree too, and he had over 500 trees painted, and they're all gone.
Wow.
And they're all painted different colors. And so there's a little bit of a trend moving in that for the sports fans or people that maybe just like a different color. We've been painting trees white for a few years now, and you put maybe a red set of lights on it or some blue lights, and it's a gorgeous new appeal.
Mm-hmm. I have such a silly question. So you're talking about preserving trees. My mom used to dump like 7-Up into the water bowl, saying that the sugar helped keep it alive. Is that true?
Well, there are some theories out there that sugar will help preserve. What we, as members of the National Christmas Tree Association, tell consumers, just give it fresh water. And that's really what that tree is used to, is getting water along with the other nutrients that are coming naturally through the soil. The sugar mixture or the sugar water, there's nothing conclusive that says that you should do it. You should save the 7-Up for the Christmas punch or the Seagram 7 and 7 as you're heading into the holiday festivities.
Yeah, I know you're a professional, Scott, but I'm on a side with Mrs. Kelly because I think she's always right.
Hey, I always said, Mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So we got to make sure people are taken care of.
What do you want people to know? As they're buying a tree and they're sitting there looking at it, what would you want people to know as the guy that grew it?
As the guy who grew it, I want you to know that every real tree you put in your home has been touched by hands from folks in North America, and it's putting food on their table as well. Every real tree that's grown has a family behind it who's dedicated their blood, sweat, and tears to putting that in your home. But we grow that tree for 2 reasons. First reason is because it's a celebration of family, and it's families coming together. It's families sitting around and cherishing those memories. And the other reason we grow that tree is to celebrate the greatest reason, and the reason why we're here on earth is that's the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. And so those are the 2 reasons that we grow Christmas trees, and we want you to know that we're behind that tree as folks, whether it be from Canada or from the United States, and it's a real family that's growing that tree. It's not produced in some factory overseas, and it's not made out of material that's going to end up in the landfill when you're done with that tree. That tree is 100% biodegradable. It's turned into mulch that cities then ship, or some of them even end up as fish habitat in rivers and lakes. So that tree that you're growing not only has a real family behind it, it's grown for a great purpose, but it is 100% environmentally friendly. The amount of oxygen that is produced for that tree, and each acre of Christmas trees provides enough oxygen for over 15 people every year.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Over the years, has the market shifted to more fake trees or more real trees?
So there's definitely a market presence that has been lost over time as artificial trees, or some people have used the term fake trees, has shifted. That shift has been maybe it's easier, or maybe in their mindset that that's the way our generation did it, so that's the way I do it. So there has been that. Tree farmers, we're not combating each other. We're combating the artificial tree that's being put into a lot of American homes. Just as dairy farmers are combating, quote unquote, soy or almond liquids. As we look at this, we have lost some market presence. There's a super strong resurgence right now today with the millennial generation as they are now having families, are now starting to settle down, and they're wanting to make this family tradition. They're very big on tradition. They're very big on the environmental friendly aspect. And so we are seeing a strong resurgence today from the millennial buyer. In addition to that, consumers maybe don't want that great big tree. And so Christmas tree farmers are seeing this, are hearing this. And so a lot of farmers today are producing a tabletop model, a 3 to 4 foot tree that comes in a stand. And so we're just trying to adapt to this. Today, the Christmas tree industry now has a Christmas tree promotion board. It's a marketing research fund oversaw by the USDA. We utilize those industry assessments to pursue a stronger buying presence, a bigger market share. In addition to that, we're using those funds for additional research. As we are trying to continue this tradition, trying to get the real tree into more American homes, it's one thing that we're striving to do because we have lost market share in the last 50 years, and we're just trying to get more of that back.
It is a big thing you put in your house that, you don't want to drag up to the attic every year. I'm team real tree.
Well, I think it's pretty cool. Can you share with us what Trees for Troops is? Absolutely.
Trees for Troops is a great program that a lot of Christmas tree growers and their customers support. And Trees for Troops, in a partnership with FedEx, who delivers those trees, we send trees to military families or military members, whether they're here stateside or overseas. And so those trees are donated by the farmer, or in some cases they receive donations locally. Those trees are then shipped to families to celebrate Christmas and just to provide some of that joy. And some of them end up in military bases around the world, and some of them end up in different military bases right here in your backyard. It's just the thought of being able to provide maybe that memory for those members who can't get home for Christmas, who are busy serving our country day in, day out, and aren't able to get back to, maybe Billings, Montana, or Madison, Wisconsin, and maybe they're at a base in Georgia, or they're not able to get back to their families. If we can provide some way to say thank you, some way to come alongside them, we want to do that. And FedEx has been a strong supporter of that program for years. Today, there's some additional other corporate sponsors which are coming alongside, which is great, and it's just allowing us to expand that program further.
That's fantastic. Well, Scott Powell from Manton, Michigan. I really appreciate it, and I know you had to pull over when you're traveling and talk to us. I really appreciate you taking the time because, yes, we buy these things, and we put them in our home, and we enjoy them, and it's just such a fixture of Christmas. We don't always think about all the work and the hands that were put on them to get them in our house. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Rob, Leslie, thank you again. Thank you to all your listeners. And if you don't have a real tree yet, you've got a few days left before Christmas.
That's right.
Hint, hint, Leslie.
Well, Leslie, a big shout out to Jody DeHate for setting us up with Scott. Yeah, very cool. And for you for putting it out there on Twitter. And congratulations again on becoming the Wheat Queen of Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and you two on Nashville TV.
Yes. Yes, I've got the entire TV of Nashville. That's well, Scott, thank you very much. And everybody else, we hope you catch us next time.